Okay, look what I just got in the mail. This is the lower seal kit, lower unit seal kit for the 10 horse Johnson. So we're going to put this all together tonight, minus the impeller, and you get to watch me while I do that. So on y va. So I already scraped the old gasket off the lower unit foot here. I'm going to do the same to the skeg. There's nothing exciting about what I'm about to do. It's just scraping the old gasket material off of the two parts that will mate together. In this case, the skeg and the lower unit bit. Make sure you get it as good as you can, but you don't want to dig into the aluminum, or you won't get as good a contact between the two halves. And you want to dig into this bit where the spaghetti seal is as well, and get all the old gasket material out of there too. I'm just using a screwdriver. I think they actually make gasket scrapers, but this will be fine. So I already did this to the other half. If there's any ridges along this edge here, you want to try and knock them down, because sometimes these lower units will get banged up a bit and cause little bumps on the edge, and you want to try and knock them down. And around all the screw holes as well, because they all mate with the upper half. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to fill this with, when I'm done, I'm going to fill it with oil. Run it for a bit in the water, and once it's out of the water, I'll drain the oil so it flushed out all the crap that I might have missed, and then I'll fill it up again, and that'll be good, I reckon. You want to get along this curved bit here, because that's going to mate up with the O-ring that's on the, I don't know, the prop bearing holder, whatever we call it. And that's got to be sealed off as well. I want to make sure this is dry. I'm going to use some kind of Permatex stuff for this. Probably the stuff you mate engine halves together with. So I want to make sure that goes on dry for both halves. So I'm going to do that with this and the other half. Now what's next? You guys remember this? I'm going to file all those teeth off that I cut just before. And there's nothing to this, just smooth out all those rough edges. You don't want to hang around in one spot too long. You don't want it to go out around. Even though the O-ring does most of the sealing, you still don't want to be a gambler. I'm just making light passes whenever I kind of feel it bite. Make sure there's teeth there. Knock them down and And that's that. That's pretty good. And I'm just going to get rid of the old O-ring and gasket sealant that's been on here. Let that dry out. Next, get our prop shaft ready. Gotta make sure you have these thrust washers in there. That's this guy here. Sorry, there you go. Where are we at here? That's this one right here. You need to have those. Don't lose them. And then just go the same way they went before. Like this. Ooh, can't forget that. The shift dog. This is what the shifter rides in. They look the same. If there is a forward and reverse side, I'm sure someone will tell me. So here are all our seals. They call that the spaghetti seal for obvious reasons. These two nylon washers which cover those screw holes to make a seal there. And you got your prop shaft and your drive shaft seal, and this is the shift shaft seal. This goes around this guy here. I just dropped it, but I found it. And the gasket for under the impeller seal. I think it mates up on this surface right here. So yeah, we'll slap all that together. So I'm going to start with the prop seal. They appear to be the same, these two, so I better confirm on the drive shaft actually. Yes, the two will both work for either. So I'll start with the prop shaft. There's two different sides to this. This lip has more of a slope, so I'm going to put that facing in. And this one has more of a wall to it, so that looks like it's supposed to keep the water out and the oil in with that slope bit there. Just like any other seal, you want to make sure you install it nice and level-ish, just so you don't warp it as you're driving it in. I just use a socket for this. You want a socket that's as close to the diameter as you can make it. I'm using a 19 mil socket here. And a ball peen. So it's going in the right way. So first you just want to get it started. I'd equate this kind of to tapping something too, like just getting started is half the battle. You want to make sure you're driving it in nice and straight and even, like this. I'll give you a look. So when you look at it from here, you can see that's starting out fine. And you just want to hit it hard enough that it'll keep going down. And you'll hear it. You'll hear the sound change when you bottom it out to the bottom of the shaft. You can just feel it. Like, I think I hit the bottom now. Yeah. There. That is 1x shift shaft seal installed. Also, I don't know how crucial this is, but there's this brass bit that came with it. It can't hurt, I guess. And that'll just gently get tapped into place as well. Did I say gently? I meant forcefully. There we go. So that's the prop shaft seal installed. What should we do next? The shift shaft seal? Let's do that. So you may or may not remember this. This is an easy day right here. So you might recall the shift shaft seal being the trickiest one to remove. Well, for some. But it's an easy one to install. Obviously clean all the mating surfaces. Take your seal and press that guy in. It is a tight fit. Okay, and then we take our, y'all remember this? So this thing, it has these two little flutes, that, or chamfers I guess, and the chamfer side goes down when you install this. That helps center it better on the holder. That is not even. Should be more of an interference fit than that. But I think when I drove it down, that did it. That's a shift shaft seal. That is in. Next, we're going to install this guy here. First, I'm just going to clean this up a bit and get the new gasket in, and then I think it's ready to go together. Again, more scraping. So give it a wipe, see if you missed anything. If you missed something or see something you don't like, just remove it. I'm going to call that good. Like that. I think it's like that. Yeah. You guys put your gaskets on dry or use grease or anything like that? I like to use a bit of grease for some of them. Like this one. Just holds it down and probably seals it up or whatever. But once it's on and tight, it's not going anywhere. Yeah. Now the seal, you got the same deal with that lip. There's like a side that's kind of more of a wall than the other side. So I'm putting the wall side up. I'm going to use the same 19 mil socket. That's better. So, I guess since we're here, we'll put this guy on. That goes on here. Just going to knock this sharp edge off the brass. I don't want to cut the O-ring while I'm just mellow it out a bit. There. That couldn't cut butter. Anyway, back at her. The O-ring goes on, like that. Okay, now we're putting on the, I don't know what it's called, the impeller plate. If you get confused which way it goes up, look for the side that has like the obvious markings from the impeller swirling on it. See, that's got nothing. That has all kinds of shininess to it, so that's the side that goes up. I think it's shift shaft and impeller next. I like to put a dab of grease on this pin there just to keep it sitting nicely on the impeller or on the shift shaft. It goes in there and the impeller catches that nub there. So when you put this in, you don't want to damage the impeller seal or the drive shaft seal. So it looks to me like this is the least aggressive end. So that's going to go up through the engine and it'll come up through this way. The other end wasn't as aggressive. I'd go that way, but that's the way I'm going. So I like to put a little coat of grease on this just to make everything slide. I really don't want to damage that seal. I don't know if there's a special grease you should use, but I'm just using regular old multi-purpose grease. So let's see. That feels pretty good. Should be about there, and then I should see my little that guy, where this guy goes. So hopefully I didn't ruin the seal doing that, but we will see. I just realized this guy has to go on as well. The right way. Then this rides on that metal part, I think. I'm still waiting on the impeller. It's in the mail, and this one isn't in too bad a shape. Huh. Looks like that pin is a little long. I have to trim that pin down a bit, regrettably. I'll be back. Okay, I got the old impeller back on. Now I'm ready to put the housing on. There it is. You want to use grease on the inside, that way well, if it was a new impeller, the prongs would swirl in there a little easier, and this just helps with its initial bit of turning when there's no water in there. You don't want to ruin your impeller before you left the gate. So you put this guy on, and then you spin this counterclockwise because the engine turns clockwise. So you twirl towards freedom like this, and you'll feel it bottom out. There we go. And we're lined up. So I'm going to screw this guy down, and we should be good to go. I had to dig the screws out, but I got them. You can't see that one, but it's not unlike the others. So just tighten them down. Remember, you're not trying to strip the aluminum under it all. Just get them nice and snug. Somewhere between a her and a and that'll do it. So that is now in. Next, the shift shaft. Okay, the shift shaft out. Sometimes, not in this case, you'll find a lot of carbon along the shift shaft because I think it goes through the exhaust housing. So you'll see a lot of crap on there that you got to knock off, or you might destroy your O-ring or sand it down a bit when you're sending the shift shaft through. That's not the case here. So a bit of grease. I think it's this way, and then send it through our shift shaft seal. It's a tight fit. And we got her. Now once you get the shift shaft in, you don't want to move it around or twist it or anything. You just want it to kind of stay put, just so you're not stressing the seal too much. I think it goes this way. We'll see. So yeah, there's the shift shaft. Got this little pawl or frog or whatever you call it. I don't remember. Anyway, then we got our drive shaft, or the pin that turns the gear there. That just goes on top of the drive shaft. Comme ça. And then we have this carrier that goes. Another seal, so I'm going to use some grease. Installed. So this little notch, we want it to ride on that little pin that I installed in there before. Let's see if I get this right. And as I turn this, it should snap down. There. So that's what it looks like before you put it all together. The shift dog, I think it's called the shift dog. The shift dog, it sits in these little prongs. I'll put it in first. And it sits in here, like that. And then when you pull this lever up and down, it moves it back and forth. It pivots on a pivot point in the skeg. Now we put all this stuff together. Oops. I already forgot something. I use Gasket Maker. I don't know. I forgot to do it for this part here. So you put it on the 2 halves. So on the both mating surfaces. I'm just going to pull this out. Call that a test fit. So the idea is you put this on each half, wait a minute, and then seal it all together. I'm sure there's an actual compound you're supposed to use, or maybe you don't. Maybe the spaghetti seal and the O-ring is supposed to do all the work, but I don't trust them, and it's not like you just glob this stuff on, so I'm sure it'll be fine. This. Next is the spaghetti seal. Now I kept the old spaghetti seal, and ask me why I knew to do that this time. There's the old one, and I'm just going to match up the lengths and then cut it to length, and then that will be a win. So this guy just floats in this trough here, and then we'll jam all this together. Now if you're a little long or a little short, it's okay. You can fudge the length of this, as long as you have something kind of tacky holding it in. So I think that looks pretty good. But you still want to get as close as possible. And then I like to put a little extra bit of sealant on the ends of the spaghetti seal, just in case that's a a weak point, I really don't know, but if it were to leak anywhere on the seal, that's where I'd have my money. And now the gear case goes back together. Another thing to watch out for, this tab sticks up because it sits in here. So another thing to keep in mind. So that's in. Got that side pointed up. The gears are meshed with the drive shaft. It's time for this. Okay, so I think we are ready. It's been a minute, I think. So what you want to do is have your pin ready with there's an O-ring for it that goes along the threads. In the seal kit there's this O-ring here too, and that goes along this pivot pin, and that seals that in the gear case there. So just like that. So everything's ready, and we are attaching. I see the hole. You have to move the shift shaft a bit so you can snipe the hole there, but once you get it, you should be good. So I got the hole here, the pin is going in. Okay, it's in for now, so it's at least holding it in place. Now I can start putting these screws in. Just handling it now. Again, when you tighten this down, I like to see a bit of squeeze out of the compound I used. That kind of lets you know you hit the seal, or you got it sealed. I just like to tighten it down a bit at a time and just take it easy. In case I didn't get something lined up, you're at least not breaking things before they're sealed up. They should all go together pretty smooth. And of course you're cross tightening as best you can as you do it. So right now they're all snug. I'm not trying to demonstrate my superhuman strength on threads. So first I'm going to get this one screwed in. I'm going to confirm that my shift shaft works. Okay, that's one direction. And there's the other. Okay, so it works. So it should be good. I'm gonna put it back in neutral and tighten this guy down. And I think our gasket sealant has been sufficiently squozen out to confirm to me that this should be sealed up. So yeah, that's how you change the seals on a lower unit for one of these 1962 era Johnson 10 horsepower. It's a win. All right, thanks for watching. I'll do a leak down test too at some point, but I have to set it up.